Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. Our post-game show is on the docket, and what a win for the Birds on Sunday Night Football. A statement win for Philadelphia when you consider the opponent, how they played, and how they finished this game off. Final score 31-17, and if you're watching the show right now and you're like, Chase, you're blending in with the background here, we got to more than $1,000 in Super Chats during our watch party. Appreciate everybody who tuned in. And I said, if we got past $1,000 in donations, I was going to throw on the Jason Kelly green jersey because the Eagles look good and they play good tonight in the freshest jerseys in the NFL, and I had to throw on the Kelly green jersey. So really, the big takeaway from this victory for Philadelphia, they're 6-1. They haven't played their best football. They joined the Kansas City Chiefs as the only two 6-1 teams in football, and the way that they won this game was very, very impressive. The Miami Dolphins entered this matchup at Lincoln Financial Field putting up nearly 500 yards of offense per game, and they came in averaging about 37 points per game. The Philadelphia Eagles defense came to play, and I thought the Eagles defense, the biggest reason why Philadelphia was able to make a statement. And for those of you who continue to say, this Eagles team isn't good, they aren't legit, they're not one of the NFL's best teams, they've looked sloppy up to this point, they're not for real, what do you say now when all throughout this season, when you've taken a look at all of the power rankings across the NFL, the Miami Dolphins have consistently been a top 3 team, and the Eagles dispatched them by winning by 2 touchdowns. I was very impressed from start to finish with how Philadelphia won this game. The Eagles held Miami to 1 offensive touchdown and only 244 yards. Think about that. This is a Dolphins team, creative offensive mind, Mike McDaniel as their head coach, very explosive team with all of their weapons, very fast, vertical, and sideline to sideline. And I know that the Eagles got a little bit leaky on some of those third down conversions, but 5 yards per play when the Dolphins were putting up nearly 8 yards per play, 244 yards when the Dolphins were putting up almost 500 yards of offense per game. They were the number 1 rushing offense in the National Football League, and they had -7 yards at halftime. They finished the game 12 carries for 45. Tua Tagovailoa throwing 23 of 32 times, 199 yards. You lost the turnover battle in this game, as Jalen Hurts, who we'll talk about, lost a fumble that resulted in 3, threw a pick 6, yet you still win by 2 touchdowns, and you're able to win. Time of possession, 36 minutes. So this is a character win. This is a statement win. Lastly, it's a response game for Philadelphia. They played awful against the New York Jets. They turned the football over 4 times. Jalen Hurts fell apart in that 4th quarter. And oftentimes, when the Eagles lose a game like that, in that way, the sky is falling in Philadelphia. But you welcome the Dolphins to town as they come into this game at 5-1. And I thought that Philadelphia was able to kick their asses. This was an ass kicking. And that's why this victory feels so good, because of the opponent, the identity of this win, how the defense played, and how when the offense needed to come through with a statement drive, the Eagles were able to do that at the end of the game to extend the lead to 14 points by going 13 plays, 83 yards, big boy football, multiple 3rd down conversions that were clutch, and 4th down conversions that were clutch as well. Now, I do want to ask you this, and I want to hear from you down in the comment section. Your biggest Eagles winner from tonight is who? I'm just going to pinpoint the defense as the biggest Eagles winner here, and Sean Desai shutting down Mike McDaniel's offense. That was a high-octane offensive attack. We saw moments of the Dolphins being that team. Tyreek Hill double covered on that 27-yard touchdown throw at the end of that 1st half. That was an explosive play. But to shut down this Dolphins offensive attack that was number 1 in the NFL in yards, points, yards per play, number 1 rushing offense, and you're able to hold them in check like that. That's a really character-building win for Philadelphia. Like, you look at the team comparison here, Eagles had 26 first downs. They gave up only 12 to Miami. Third down efficiency, 4 of 12 for Philadelphia, 4 of 11 for Miami. But you ran 20 more plays, 68 to 48. And that was also a big part of the Eagles' success here, is that they kept that Miami offense off the field. Eagles put up 355 yards of offense against a Vic Fangio-led defense. Sean Desai, by the way, a Vic Fangio disciple. I'm sure that he made his former boss very proud. Yards per play pretty even, 5-2 for Philly, 5-1 for Miami. Jalen Hurts, even with those giveaways, 256 yards passing. Tua Tagovailoa, 199. I'm sure it felt pretty good for Jalen Hurts to outplay Tua when Tua was the one who replaced him. And there's still a lot more left to get to. Eagles rushing for 99 yards to Miami's 45. And like I said, plenty to dissect with this. But first, our show, sponsored by ZBiotics. I got to be honest, when y'all hit me with a bunch of super chats like you do with this watch party, I don't always bounce back well the next day. That is until I found ZBiotics. It is a pre-alcohol probiotic that makes your hangovers a lot better the next day. And if you go to zbiotics.com/chatsports and you scan that QR code, you can see what I'm talking about. It works basically just like something that'll help you feel better the next day when you're feeling a little bit shitty. And you can get 15% off at zbiotics.com/chatsports, or you can scan that QR code here on the screen as well. And a lot of you have questions, right? What is ZBiotics? It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down, and it's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut, where you need it the most. So, drink ZBiotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. This Halloween, pair your candy and cocktails with ZBiotics to avoid a spooky next morning. Head to zbiotics.com/chatsports. Scan the QR code on the screen right now to get 50% off your first order. And when you use the code ChatSports at checkout, you're able to save and you feel better the next day. You can also sign up for a subscription as well so that you can stay prepared no matter the occasion. Very easy to travel with ZBiotics given the packaging as you see here on your screen as well. So get started today. So a couple more takeaways that I have for this game, and then we'll take some of your questions as well. Like an ass kicking for Philadelphia, that's why this win feels so good. Response game. Shout out to this defense. Nick Sirianni, I thought it was pretty funny. He's going to the locker room after the game. He said, "Stop doubting us." And the Eagles continue to be doubted by a lot of people and a lot of teams across the NFL. But look, they are 6-1, and everybody wanted to say, Eagles haven't played anybody. Like the Miami Dolphins came into this game 5-1, and all of their wins came against teams with a combined win total of 5 games. And I said all throughout this past week, I've seen this story before. Eagles come off a bad, ugly, listless loss against New York, and then this hot offensive team comes into town with Tua Tagovailoa, but then the crowd becomes too much, the environment becomes too much, and this Eagles defense physically comes to play. We've seen this time and time again. I'm 31 years old, throughout my entire upbringing, and the identity of this game ended up really working out in that fashion. The Dolphins, I thought, were really affected by the crowd. They had multiple pre-snap penalties and overall penalties in this football game. And the Eagles looked like the more complete team, the more dominant team, and the team that can be a Super Bowl contender against a team that sounds fun, looks fun, but when it comes to playing in an environment like this, when it comes to actually winning a big game, Eagles are able to really just manhandle them to a certain degree. Now, I do have some issues with this game. Eagles' red zone offense a little bit better, but on that first drive, you drive right down the football field. On a 3rd and goal from the 9-yard line, Brian Johnson calls a quarterback draw to Jalen Hurts. Low efficient play. And I don't understand that. And Brian Johnson and this Eagles offense need to be more consistent. That's really one of the biggest things that's holding this team back. I did think that the Eagles defense set the tone early coming to play against the Dolphins rushing attack. Again, number one rushing offense in Philadelphia, led by Hassan Reddick, who played a great game tonight. He was all over the field. Give him credit for how he played, making an impact outside of just being an edge rusher. He made a couple of really good plays behind the line of scrimmage against the run. And the Dolphins really couldn't muster anything with that ground game. And that really impacted the Dolphins' offensive game plan. The Eagles, going back to some of the issues that I take with this team, did struggle on third downs. There was the 30-down pickup to Cedric Wilson before the half, and then a couple of plays later, Tua to Tyreek Hill, even if he was double covered, still caught that touchdown for 27 yards. But the Eagles held the number one rushing offense in the NFL to -7 yards in the first half. And I thought it was really important for Philadelphia to kind of make a statement early in this game, and they did. And in doing so, altered what the Dolphins really wanted to do and what they are comfortable with their game plan. For A.J. Brown, 5 straight games of 125-plus yards. That is tied for the longest streak in NFL history. The Hurts throw to A.J. Brown to make it a 14-point game, dropped it in the bucket, found the keyhole, and Hurts with the little shimmy fake, took a shot, delivered that football downfield. Some of the franchise qualities that you look for in a quarterback, right? Short mindset, doesn't get flustered, doesn't get rattled, doesn't piss down his leg when he commits a couple of bad turnovers. Jalen Hurts turned it over 4 times last week, right? This week, loses a fumble, leads to a Dolphins field goal. Then he throws that pick 6. And for Jalen Hurts to kind of shake that off and finish the game strong, that's what I'm talking about right there. Those are franchise-defining qualities. And on that drive in which the Eagles are up 7, you're taking on a high-octane offense, you need to be able to finish the football game right there, make a statement. He did that with the brotherly shove plays. He did that with a couple of third-down drives. And then he drops that ball to A.J. Brown, who made a great adjustment on it, maintain his balance, maintain his focus despite falling to the grass. That's just great stuff right there. And for A.J. Brown, we're talking about a historic stretch here. 5 straight games of 125-plus yards. That big play, that was really the highlight of that 13-play, 83-yard drive in which the Eagles displayed some big boy football. And again, you go back to this Eagles defensive performance, a masterclass by Sean Desai. The game plan against Mike McDaniel, confusing them, giving them multiple looks. The Eagles defensive line able to get home with some of those pass rushes. You stop that run and you change up, you switch up what the Dolphins wanted to do game plan-wise going into this game on top of them not having the ball that much because of the time of possession being favored to Philadelphia. That's how you win this football game. And now you get Washington next week. That's a team that's reeling a little bit, and you have momentum on your side, and you're starting to see the glimpses of this Eagles team putting it together in stretches. And if they become a more consistent football team, look out. They can be a force to be reckoned with. You don't want to peak this early in the football season. Philadelphia is not by any means. In fact, they've been a head-scratching, confusing, confounding, and frustrating team to watch. But you see the moments of greatness for this team here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Philadelphia Eagles now, our watch party popping off once again. 85,000 views. And we give you content every single day on the Birds. So if you want informative, entertaining, insightful Eagles analysis, this is your go-to spot. Hit that subscribe button down below. With that, I want to answer a couple of questions from some loyal subscribers here. Gavin Cooper, was Tua really struggling? You know, he threw the interception to Darius Slay. It was an underthrown ball. I thought that was like his worst throw of the night. Outside of that, I wouldn't say that Tua really struggled. I just think that the Eagles able to really manhandle the Dolphins with their offensive line and their defensive line, set the tone physically for this game. And that was something that was the point of emphasis for me all throughout this week, especially when Miami was going to be without Connor Williams, their starting center, without Xavier Howard. You exploited that mismatch with Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and A.J. Brown. But in the trenches, I thought Philadelphia really did dominate at the point of attack, and I had questioned the Dolphins' ability to maintain their offensive efficiency if they got punched in the teeth and hit with a little uppercut, like Bernard Hopkins, Philly legend, and they weren't able to really respond after getting that uppercut. So I thought Tua played okay, 23 of 32, but he came in averaging more than 9 yards per completion, and tonight only 6.8. And again, the running game held in check for Miami. They only ran it 12 times, 45 yards. By far their worst offensive performance this year, and that's a credit to what this Eagles defense was able to do. David Marcella, $5 super chat. Do you think Nolan Smith should be getting more snaps? I do. This past week we talked about Derek Barnett and his lack of impact and how he hasn't really been able to generate much of a pass rush. You didn't see him in the game a lot here tonight. You did see Nolan Smith in the game, and he was able to register his first sack of his NFL career. He came blazing in on Tua, coming off the edge. Now, he wasn't blocked, but that speed, it can make a difference. Visionary. Was this our most complete game of the season? I think so. Chip, I would have to say, given the opponent and how the Eagles finished the game, how they played defensively, and then at moments, how they played offensively, and again, how they finished the game offensively, probably the most complete game this year. Yeah, I would say that. The ultimate Samuel, good game. Congrats to y'all. Y'all think y'all could beat San Francisco if y'all were to play next week? And who would y'all rather face right now, Niners or Chiefs? Well, the Super Bowl would be against an AFC team, so that would be Kansas City. The Eagles are going to play in the span of a few weeks, the Niners and Kansas City, so we will see. I want to see how San Francisco plays against Minnesota coming off their first loss. If they continue to struggle, some concerns about that team, but they are certainly loaded. A lot of depth. Going to be without Deebo Samuel here for a little while. Trent Williams doubtful for Monday Night Football. I think San Francisco, outside of that Cleveland loss, is playing better ball. But Philadelphia, at the point of attack, offensive and defensive line, they might be better than San Francisco. And if they get home field advantage over the Niners, I kind of like Philadelphia. It's very close. If the Eagles were to play Kansas City right now, what a lot of people are losing track of, the fact that Kansas City Chiefs defense is playing really, really stout ball. And usually it's been all reliant on Patrick Mahomes in that offense. This year, though, that defense is really, really good. Cool Reigns, AJ the Beast, was again the MVP for this game. Do you agree? One of the MVPs. I thought the Eagles defense as a whole was the MVP. Sean Desai is my MVP for the defensive game plan, for the defensive plan in general. But A.J. Brown, 5 straight games of 125-plus yards. That is just dominant football. And he came in number 2 in receiving yards behind Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is blazing fast. Tyreek Hill is special. He's unique. He's one of one. You see his speed pop. But I think that A.J. Brown is the more complete receiver compared to Tyreek. Bigger, stronger, not as fast, but can break tackles a little bit better. And I think that he's one of those wide receivers who's just able to impact the game more consistently, especially with that height advantage, the physicality, breaking tackles, as compared to Tyreek Hill. But it's extremely close. Certainly one of the MVPs here. So 31-17, Philadelphia, really impressive win against the Miami Dolphins. Thanks to everybody who tuned in to our watch party as well as our post-game show. If you like our coverage, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. We appreciate y'all for supporting the program.